Hey guys, Fhraelaok here with my weekly vlog update, as it is Friday. Today, I wanted to, of course, talk about what I did this week, and then I want to talk about raid leading. I know I've been talking about different things on WoW a lot in my vlog, but it just seems to come up a lot, really, and I might actually assist in raid leading and a little bit of leadership with other things in the raid other than just leading the raid itself in my guild soon. So I thought it might be a good topic. Of course, I do want to talk about this type of stuff on our leadership videos on Tuesdays, but I figured I'd talk about a little bit of it right now. Now, what you see in the background is just that, a background. This is just a voiceover. It's not me on some random game playing while trying to come up with something. It's a lot easier to narrate it like this and voice over it rather than recording while I'm playing something, because then I often forget the order of things I was going to say or what I was going to say. Plus, in the second clip of this, you will see a rundown of some things I wanted to discuss about raid leading. That'll make it a lot easier to keep on track. If you want any backgrounds like this, I'm not a fantastic artist. I can't draw things like, ooh, I want a dragon. But if you can give me a picture of a dragon and say, you know, I kind of want a picture like this, and can you put this in there for like a background or something, or maybe put this texture on top of this, you know, text or this dragon or something if you can, and you know, and I can make it as my guild logo or something like that. Let me know. I'll do what I can for you. Now then, without further ado, here's what I did this week. I'm going to start off with WoW and then move on to other things here. So in WoW, Team 2 raid leader asked me in my guild, asked the guild if anybody was interested in Throne of the Four Winds, and he needed a tank pretty bad, and I offered to tank. However, I have not done the content, but I knew the fight, and of course I'll rewatch a video right then and there to make sure I know it and it's stuck in my head. So he gave me a chance. We went in, we did wipe a few times. The first time was because of me, because out of nowhere, my entire World of Warcraft client froze up. That has only happened to me like twice before, ever. Unless it was right on a patch day as soon as a patch came out or something. So it was just atrocious. I felt so bad for it, but I was still on vent, and of course I apologized. And he was very cool with it. It's all good. We wiped a couple more times after that, but around 4 or 5 wipes or so, it might have even been up to 6. We nailed it. And we got Conclave of Wind down, which is awesome. I mean, I've never done it before other than Buried and Hold, which isn't that hard of content. I mean, it's like Vault of Archivon from Lich King. It's pretty walkover content. We got it. That was my first raid. I got my first major raid boss. And it was kind of a council boss, and those are always a bit challenging. Hopping from platform to platform is always a challenge in splitting DPS. So, nailed it. I couldn't stick around. They wanted to try Elixir. They knew they would not get it down, but were willing to try it just for the experience on it so people could see it. I was not able to do that, so it's too bad. And I believe this was Wednesday. It may have been Tuesday I did this, but then definitely Wednesday. The Team 1 raid leader needed a tank, and of course I offered to go for Blackwing Descent and Bastion of Twilight if they wanted to bring me. I know the fights, but I have not done them myself. Again, videos, etc. So they offered to bring me in, and they did bring me in. We went through Blackwing Descent. Of course, wipes here and there, it happens. But generally, if they needed a tank, they had me tank. Well, the other guy would DPS, because, of course, he has a better DPS set. And they wanted to see what I could do, so we nailed Magma, Omnitron Defense System, Maloriak, Chimeron, or Chimeron, however you wish to say it. I hear it so many different ways. And the next guy, and then we moved on to Bastion of Twilight, and in there, we downed Hellfist Wormbreaker after a couple attempts. We had a really, really awful setup of Drakes. Not the absolute worst you could, but like second to worst setup you could. But we managed it, finally, and got it down. But then we called it for the night, came back in last night, and managed to only get Veliona and Thoralion after like 1 wipe, maybe even 2 wipes, something like that. but then we nailed the stacking up again, and this is all farm content for them, but unfortunately we had to pug a couple people and switch a couple spots up. I guess it was just kind of a bad week. And of course I was filling in for their main tank. Yikes. But it was fun. They gave me a chance. I got a couple pieces of loot. We tried Ascendant Council a few times. I did just fine, I think. The other tank was holding one of the guys too close, Terrestra, I believe, too close to, like, the gravity wells, and it was just causing a problem for Melee, since that's what Melee focuses on, is that guy. But, I mean, I did get to Phase 3 most of the times. Every time that we got to Phase 3, I was up, I was alive. The other tank was not. So, I did get to pick up the Elementium Monstrosity, or whatever it is, and kite it around. I think I did just fine with that. Unfortunately, we did not get it down, and we did end up calling it, and are going to try again Monday. It is, content that they've done before. They're trying to work on Cho'Gall. Next week they're starting 25s, and hopefully I'll get one of the main tank spots for that, and, you know, I've offered to help with that, because I know 25s are harder to organize and harder to, keep everybody happy and micromanage people, and, I'll get to that in the raid leading part ahead. Other than that, I've come out with mini videos this week. Just yesterday, I uploaded episode 15 of my WoW Cataclysm Let's Play. That is the episode in which I hit level 85. Now, I am only going to be updating them and uploading them Saturdays and Sundays now. So look forward to a new episode tomorrow, not today. And these are going to be more of instances, or raids, or PvP, or something that I'm doing. I have one of Hyjal because you didn't get to see that while we leveled up. Yeah, so that's that. Forsaken World, I announced that I am done with the Let's Tank pretty much, and I'm combining the Let's Play and the Let's Tank into just the Let's Play on Thursdays. And in that, I'll play whatever tune, whenever. It's not going to be a major thing of, oh, I'm only playing Arctic Dwarf, or I'm only playing Dreaming Glory, my prot guy on there. So, it will be whatever I happen to play. You'll get to see different characters in action, doing different things. And that will be Thursdays. On Tuesdays, I'll be doing my leadership video from now on, and we'll see how that turns out. It should be interesting, but I've done a lot of leading for a lot of years, and I figured it might be a good idea to start talking about it, and trying to help some people out, because I know a lot of people struggle with leading, but need to or really want to. In Minecraft, I came out with my server, or survival multiplayer server update, and I just got another person on there this week. If you're interested, please just toss me a message on any of my videos saying you're interested. Leave me your Minecraft name and I'll toss you the IP and put you on the whitelist. Let's see. The RuneScape update came out this week. I put that up. Death Hat's trainer and upgrades. Pretty cool. And that's pretty much it for the rest of this week of the videos I've uploaded. And pretty much all I've done, really. So, coming up next here is going to be my raid leading section. I've already talked for about, 9 minutes of what I've done this last week, so hopefully this raid leading won't take too much longer than that. Alright, let's get into it. Alright, so here we go. Here's my little raid screen, or my raid leading screen. The different things I want to talk about, I considered a lot of them managing, because that's what a raid leader does, is manages, so I just tried to use that word as much as I could. Alright, so let's start at the top. These aren't in any particular order. They're just there as things I thought up of as I thought up of. Alright, so managing your team. Now this is a whole big thing. You gotta micromanage them, you gotta make sure that they're gonna show, you gotta make sure that they're gonna perform, you gotta make sure they're gonna know the fights, you gotta make sure they're gonna bring the regions that they're gonna bring, or that they need to bring, that they have the gear, that their gear's up to date, that their spec is up to date. It is a nightmare for people who have not led before, or who don't have patience. If you don't have patience, guys, right now, stop leading. Sorry, but if you have zero patience whatsoever, you're really not in a situation to be a very good leader. Just plain and simple. But as you go on, it's very easy to lose patience. That's something that I was doing with my guild, was losing my patience. But we were becoming an extremely hardcore team. And at that point, if you're not on top of it, and you don't know what you're doing, and you're not ready, then, I'm sick of it. I'm not going to deal with it anymore. That's why I stopped leading. But you gotta manage your team, guys. You gotta make sure they're gonna be there. Number one, even if they're not great players, they're not gonna do you any good if they're not there. So number one, make sure they're gonna be able to show. Number two, make sure they have regents, either for buffs, or they have their supplies such as a flask or food buff, if you're not supplying that to them. Make sure they have enough money for repair money, because you don't want them to have broken gear when they're going to try to pull the boss and tank it. For example, those are some of the biggies. Make sure that their spec is good. They can always learn the fight with you guys, but make sure that all the rest of their stuff is good. Make sure their gear is decent. You can't go in with like a tank that has 80,000 health when everybody else that's not a tank has 120,000 health, because he's gonna die really fast. And like I said, they can learn the fight with you, or they should know the fight ahead of time. Not necessarily know it from experience, but know the mechanics and generally how it will work. No, you can't perform at a fight super well just by watching a video, but you'll have an idea of what to do. You'll notice, oh my god, that guy's glowing a bright blue lightning thing and he ran out of the raid group. I should probably do that too. Or, I'm tanking, what should I do? Watch the tank in a video, tank turns dragon sideways away from the raid group. I guess I should do that too. Or, the tanks in the group pull the two guys away from each other. I should do that too. Just something like that. There's just very little things that you can pick up on that'll make a huge difference. Alright then, managing the content. You gotta know what's coming out. You, as a leader, have to know the fights and how to explain them and a strategy to at least try. You don't have to have done the fight before. It's plain and simple. Because, let's see, when new content comes out, you lead it without actually having done the fights, right? So you don't have to actually have done the fights, you just have to know how they work. And if you're not completely confident in it, just tell your team, hey, sorry guys, I haven't actually done this fight before, and, I kind of know how it works, but I'm going to do my best to explain it and tell you guys what to do, but we kind of have to, wing it a little bit from time to time and just learn it together. A decent team will work with you and understand that. And I'll tell you right now that somebody who knows the fight and wants to speak up and just take over leading, not okay. Not okay whatsoever. I hate to say it, but put them in their place. Tell them, man, you're not the leader. You can offer some advice, sure, but don't try to just come up and start taking over the raid. That's not your place. More often than not, you're going to get a guy who is ticked off by what you just said, and is probably going to drop the group, and probably cuss you out too. Because that's just what people do, and we're getting to that too. Make sure you have enough time for the content, make sure you know where the content is, and make sure, just as we were talking and managing your team, that your team knows what to do in the content, or has at least studied a couple videos or read a strategy. Now, that kind of comes into managing the time. Not only do you have to know where to go and, what to do in each one of them. For example, there's Bastion of Twilight, Blackwing Descent, and Throne of the Four Winds. 3 different raids. You gotta manage your time to be able to get them all in, if possible. Or you can just focus 1 week on this raid, the next week on that raid, or we're gonna do this raid until we've nailed them all, and then we'll move to that raid. Whatever. But you gotta manage the time, you gotta talk to your raiders, you have to see when they can be on, how long they can be on, and then schedule it. Schedule it on the calendar, make sure you send them invites, and especially if they're just new on your team, send them a mail, let them know that they're on your team, and that they're expected to show at that time. And if anybody accepts on the calendar and they don't show, preferably they're off the team if you can find a replacement, because that just screws everybody else over when they accept and don't show. It's bad enough declining, saying that, oh, I should be able to make it, and then last minute say, oh, sorry, I can't make it. But saying, yeah, I can make it, and then just not showing is far from okay. So the time thing is very, very important. As you go through the content for, say, 3 hours a night, 2 nights a week, if everybody's like, wow, we like this, let's do this more, it's going really well, and we can definitely handle more time together, then, I mean, if everybody's cool with it, try to schedule another night. If only one person isn't, try to work with them. If they're really going to make or break that team, stick with the 2 nights. If they're not, then, try to expand to the 3 nights, maybe replace them. If, say, you're raiding 5 nights a week, you're pushing that hardcore content, and your team really can't handle that, maybe they're only showing about 3 nights a week, the whole team, stick to the 3 nights a week. It's better to have less time, but more productive time, than it is to have more time and less productive time. So, make sure you're working with your raid team. Just because you're a leader and you might want 5 nights a week, 4 hours a night, because you want to push that hardcore content, does not mean your raiders do, and does not mean your raiders can handle it. Now, raiding that long will stress people out. Raiding that long will really work on their nerves. They really get impatient with people. They're already spending so much time on the game with everybody else trying to get this done, and anybody else messing that up is really going to tick them off. And it depends on what type of guild you are, if you're casual, hardcore, etc. Work with your team. Always when you're going to schedule, don't schedule for you unless you don't have a team yet. Schedule for the team. Now, if it's just you so far, and you're going to start getting a team together, but you want a schedule first, come up with the schedule that you want then, and then recruit for the team. Now we're getting into recruitment. Actually, this is working really well, the transitions here. I didn't expect that. So, recruitment. Now, a lot of guilds have a recruitment officer. A lot of guilds have any officer can recruit. Some guilds have any officer can recruit, but the raid leader recruits for their raid team, because, well, they know what they need. So, we're going to just discuss as a raid leader, if you're doing or helping with some of the recruitment, here's what you need to do. You need to know what your team needs. You need to know how many tanks you're going to need, how many healers you're going to need, how many range DPS, how many melee DPS. Find a good balance. Find what types of classes you want, and then figure out what type of classes you absolutely need to succeed. Every team is different. We just raided last night with 3 Pallies, 3 Druids, a Warlock, a Mage, and a Rogue, I believe. So, really, it was not the best team makeup at all. It really wasn't. Oh no, and a Priest. Yeah, that's right, I just named 10 of them off. There we go. Priest was the 10th. So, I mean, it wasn't a fantastic setup. It really wasn't. But it wasn't the worst. I mean, you can get by. And this is what I'm talking about. Think about what you want, and then work around it. So, say you want one of every class. That can work out really well. But then you figure out, well, that's going to be almost impossible to get right. And we're never going to raid if we're just sitting here recruiting forever. So, you're like, well, I would like a Priest, Shaman, and Pally healer, for example. But a Druid comes along and is like, well, I know the fights, I can perform well, I would love to raid with you. Meanwhile, you're like, well, we do need a healer, we'll take you on. But you still want to fill the other 2 with either a Priest, a Shaman, or a Paladin, or something like that, right? So, a Paladin comes along, and you're like, great, hey, so we got you and a Priest, And you're like, well, I want a Death Knight tank and a Warrior tank. Alright, well, here comes Death Knight tank, you got him, fantastic. Here comes a Paladin tank. You're like, well, I kind of wanted a Warrior tank, but you are a good tank. Alright, we'll move on. So again, you're compromising, but you're not really compromising buffs too much. Try to provide your team as many buffs as possible, and now with the buff changes in Cataclysm, it's not as hard as it was in, say, Wrath of the Lich King. Your buffs are going to work universally, really. A lot of classes such as hunters or warlocks, have pets that can provide certain buffs if you really need them. And that's recruitment for you. Recruit for your team. Make sure they can make your team if that's what you're recruiting for. Now, as I spoke about, dealing with, people speaking up and trying to take over a raid, or getting frustrated, that's all human nature, guys. People don't like to deal with failure. We're going to talk about reversing that in just a moment. People don't like to be told that they failed. So, when you wipe on a boss and you call somebody out and you're like, hey, you tanked that too close to the gravity well. Generally the first time they're going to be like, oh, okay, my bad, I'll fix that. Say they do it again, or they screw something else up, and you're like, hey, you screwed this up. Okay, well, try to work with them, tell them how to fix it. Can you try tanking them over here? I think that might actually help. Say it in a positive way. Not, oh my god, could you just tank that over there already? I mean, come on. Something like that. And if you say anything in a negative way, especially about them messing up, not gonna work out. If you say, hey dumbass, why don't you actually get this together? Are you stupid or something? I mean, can you not play your own class? Not gonna work. Always be nice about it. So you gotta deal with human nature like a human being, like a decent human being. Not a jerk. Even if it's a hardcore team. Always try to keep a positive, upbeat attitude about it. Even if you're wiping and it's an absolutely horrible night, just keep saying, eventually we're gonna get it. Let's keep working at it. We can do this. Or, something like that. Just be positive. Even if it doesn't seem like the time you should be positive, try to be positive. It's always going to work better. As the saying goes, you'll catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. Now, I don't like catching flies, personally. But it's true for everything. The nicer you are, the more liked you will probably be. The meaner you are, the less liked you will be. And you want to be a liked leader, because if your team doesn't like you, they're not going to perform that well. And as we were speaking about failure, now it's not easy to reverse failure. And I don't mean this just as in making it successful. I mean this as in somebody else's failure. Now, work with them. Tell them how they can fix it. Don't tell them that they're doing it wrong without coming up with a solution. Same thing I've told my members before is, don't come to me with the problem unless you have a solution. Because just complaining isn't going to get the job done. But complaining and telling me what might be able to be done about it is great. Such as, I don't really like this guy on the team. He doesn't perform well with this team. Okay, so then what should I do? Should I just kick him and try to recruit somebody else? Should we put him on a different team? Should I just ignore your problem? Maybe you could say, I have another guy, or I know another person in the guild who might perform really well. Same class, really good player, and a great team player. But this guy might be better suited for the other team because his friend is also on that team. Something like that. So, the same thing goes with, hey, man, you tanked it in the wrong place. Maybe if you tanked it over here, you might not have to worry about that. Maybe it'll be easier. I know it's hard to tank. But do your best. Try to improvise if you need to. See, look how positive that was. Just like human nature. Now, reversing failures in raids, when you're just wiping over and over, you can call the raid. Try not to call it on too negative of a note of, man, we really sucked tonight, let's just call it, maybe we'll get it next week. That kind of sounds negative. Say, you know what, we're just kind of having an off night. Normally this would go a lot better, but, I think we're all just kind of tired or something, or we've had a long week. It's all good. It's all good. We'll just call it for now. Maybe we'll reschedule it. Maybe we'll just start next week. Send me a mail if you can do it later this week. Even if you don't plan on doing it this week, have them send you a mail, and then, just say, oh, sorry, it didn't look like we were going to be able to get it together this week. Plain and simple. I know it sounds like kind of a false thing, and, you're leading them on, but honestly, it's going to work out better than saying, let's not do it. Try not to call it too early. But you don't want people to get burnt out either by failing, 30 times over. Now, if you're a hardcore guild, by all means, fail 50 times over just to get it done. But for those more casual, a little more laid-back guilds and teams, you do not want to push it like 50 wipes. It's not going to work out for the team. People are going to quit. They're going to think maybe the team's just not right. Maybe they just won't even show next week. So, to reverse that, just be a little more positive. After a few wipes, maybe 5 or 6 wipes, and it's not getting any better, maybe it's even getting worse, say, let's try one more time, and then we're going to call it. Just let them know ahead of time. Generally, when I've done that, we've pulled through because people are like, well, crap, this is our last attempt, let's do our absolute best for the night, because I can put everything into this, and then it's going to be done. So this is the last one, let's make it look good. And generally, you'll end on a high note. But just always try to make it good. Now, finally, managing yourself. Not only do you have to manage the team and everybody else and the content and the bosses and recruitment and all kinds of things, but you have to manage yourself. Now, like I said, this isn't in any necessary order, or unnecessary order, but rather, it's just there as I thought of it. So, managing yourself, it can come anywhere in this that you think it may need to. You have to have all the stuff you need ready. You have to have the content in your mind. You have to know what to do. You have to know how to be positive. And if you don't know how to be that super positive and nice to people, work on it. Don't just expect them to do for you. Now, if you want something to change, you got to change yourself first. If you can't fix it yourself, you certainly can't kick somebody and have them fix it, or expect somebody else to do it. Always take it upon yourself, especially as a leader, to take care of business. Make sure also on your team, sorry I didn't manage to speak to this in the very beginning here, but make sure that they understand that if you have to kick them or something, it's strictly business, it's nothing about friendship. Make sure people understand that right off. You try not to kick people, but if it's just not working and you do want to progress, you might have to replace them. Again, make that sound positive. Hey, we already have, 2 hunters, 2 is a little overkill. We've got this really great shadow priest here who can step in, who would be a really great bonus to the team. I really think it'll help us progress. Would you mind sitting out this week to see if that's true? If not, then by all means, we'll bring you back in. There you go, positive. But yeah, managing yourself, guys. Make sure you're there. Make sure you can handle this. It is a lot of pressure, and it is a lot of work. A lot of work. And a lot of stress. If you can't handle that, and you don't want the extra added stress on your life, don't try to lead, guys. Don't. Just don't. Because you're not only going to hurt yourself by adding that stress to you, you're going to hurt the team by letting them down when you end up quitting on them. Because you just can't handle it. I always warn leaders that it is a very hard task to take and be successful at. Easy to take on, hard to be successful at for a duration. So, manage all of this is also managing yourself. Just do your best. That's really all you can do. If people don't like you, don't ever take it personally. You're just trying to get the job done. I started out being pretty darn liked by my team. I became not so liked because I became a hard ass, honestly, to push that hardcore progression. And then I became liked again because we went a little more casual again. But then I went super hardcore. People still liked me because, well, I was ruling with an iron fist. I was getting it done. We were handling the content. And we were progressing really, really fast. And we were becoming one of the top on the realm. But not too long after that, people got fed up with me calling them out because they should already know what they're doing. They've done it before, and they just keep messing up over and over. In other words, farmed content, guys, people stop paying attention. And but again, human nature. Once you think you've got it, why try? We can do this with our eyes closed, with both hands behind our backs and our feet tied up. And that just caused them to apparently not like me anymore. And it just happens. It's a hard balance. So if they stop liking you, maybe try to work with them. Do what your team wants, not what you want, what your team wants. And try to find a team that fits your needs too. Well, that is that, guys. That's raid leading. So, I mean, it's really a wonderful thing to do. It's a great experience. So just good luck. If you have any questions, please check out my other raid leading videos and my leadership videos coming out Tuesday. If you have anything you want me to talk about in those videos, please be sure to leave a comment, and I'll get to that. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you in next week's vlog and future videos the rest of the week.